In this video, we will be tasting and talking about ecochateas' newly arrived winter 2022 batches of Wenshan Baozhong and Sanxia Bi Luo Chun teas from Taiwan. So we're brewing ecochateas' winter 2022 batches of Wenshan Baozhong and Sanxia Bi Luo Chun green tea. Both are from the Taipei area in northern Taiwan. And we decided to brew them together, well, first of all, because we got them in close proximity of each other. We sourced them at around the same time. And we tasted them side by side for the first time, just to see how they compare and contrast. And we decided to present them together because they do have some things related, namely that they are historical teas produced in the Taipei area since the Qing dynasty, so 19th century, before the Japanese arrived in 1895. And I know that Wenshan Baozhong at least was exported by an English brand that exported to North America and Europe before the Japanese arrived. So they have some similar history. They're grown very close to each other, but that's kind of about as far as how they are similar goes. Bi Luo Chun on my left and Wenshan Baozhong on my right. We brewed them in the factory tasting style. This is what typically happens when you go to source tea, especially when there are several days of harvest that we want to taste simultaneously and choose which one we like the best. The Bi Luo Chun tea maker recommends 4 grams of leaves using boiling temperature water and allowing it to just sit and brew. You can taste it as you go or as it brews stronger and stronger. The Wenshan Baozhong tea maker recommends 3.5 grams. So that's what we have, boiling temperature water, but these bowls were not preheated, so it cools down pretty quickly. It'll stay hot for several minutes. So back to this, how they compare and contrast. Sanxia Bi Luo Chun is made from a kind of unique, or at least rare, strain of tea. The cultivar is called Qingxin Ganzai, and I personally only know it to be grown in this area, producing Bi Luo Chun and sometimes Longjing green tea. Our tea maker allows the leaves to wilt overnight, thinly spread on bamboo trays and just indoors, allowing to slowly deplete themselves of moisture. They're very young leaf buds. That's how Bi Luo Chun, probably the most distinctive thing is that they're picked, the leaves are picked very young. That stands in contrast to Wenshan Baozhong along with all other oolongs. Wenshan Baozhong is technically an oolong in the sense that it is partially oxidized. It's similar in its processing methods to high mountain oolong, although the withering process is much longer and extensive, and that's part of what makes Wenshan Baozhong interesting. The leaves are less manipulated, but especially the first step of solar withering, or in this case they use hot wind as it is literally translated. It's basically heaters underneath troughs with strong fans blowing hot air up into the trough of pretty thickly stacked tea leaves. And that kickstarts the moisture depletion, which leads to oxidation in the leaves. That combined with the fact that Wenshan Baozhong is not rolled, the leaves are allowed to maintain their structural integrity because they're only slightly rolled into a twisted form, same as the Sanxia Bi Luo Chun. So that is what we have come to determine gives Wenshan Baozhong, allows it to maintain a certain fresh factor that puts it in its own category, at least in terms of a flavor profile. It's a very herbal, substantial aromatic profile it's really unique. I don't know any other tea that comes close to it. Okay, but before we allow it to get too strong, I'm going to taste. So green tea, Fully unoxidized. Although it is allowed to wilt overnight, and some people say that is the first step of oxidation, it's not manipulated. It's not rolled or tumbled or shuffled at all. Very full flavored. That's why they do that. The orthodox way of making Bi Luo Chun is to expose it to high heat as soon as possible and not wilt the tea leaves to maintain the very aromatic and fragrant profile, very delicate. But allowing the leaves to wilt, especially when they're very small and young and tender, brings a much more full-bodied flavor out in the brew. And it diminishes the green grassy character in the tea. So this, rather than being grassy, it really doesn't remind me of a grassy flavor. It reminds me of garden fresh. Herbal, yes, but a delicate vegetal character that is complex in its own right, but mostly just sort of balanced and substantial. It has a sweet, sometimes I'm reminded of snow peas, snap peas, something that's super fresh and has an element of sweetness too. Green leafies, some like arugula a little bit. It's not quite as spicy as that. Very pleasing. So we're not really comparing these as one is better or worse than the other. We're just doing these side by side because they're grown in the same area. They have similar backgrounds. And Wenshan Baozhong is said to be the most lightly oxidized oolong that is made here in Taiwan, at least. To me, it really does have a distinctive flavor profile that sets it apart from High Mountain Oolong, as I said. This is more akin to arugula to me. Something herbal, something a little bit savory. The water it's not astringent at all. Doesn't have the viscosity that a good quality High Mountain Oolong will have, but it has a full flavored aspect that surpasses, in my experience, a lot of what we get from High Mountain Oolongs. And I think it has to do with that long wilting process that allows something to transform in the leaves and give it a substantial quality in the flavor profile. Yum. So there you have it. Both of these are Winter Harvest 2022. We're nicknaming them our Winter Greens. We think they offer something refreshing to lighten up your winter blues if that's where you're at in the cold parts of the world right now. Try them out. They'll bring some freshness to your day. Happy holidays.